Tell me why you are so adamant.
Because I swore a long time ago that I would never sire a child.
Bridgerton was one of the biggest hit shows on Netflix in 2020. It basically had everything that you could ask for of a period drama and so much more. There was an amazing plot, beautiful story, and very talented cast and stunning wardrobe and set. But long before the series had taken the world by storm, some of us had already fallen in love with these characters. The Duke had made his way into our hearts with his tragic backstory and his big heart, Daphne with her feisty demeanor and her love of family, but of course, even when you take an incredible series of books like this one, written by Julia Quinn, you need to make changes for it to work on screen. These are the Bridgerton differences between the book and the show. Just a warning, there is going to be spoilers ahead. But before we get into it, if you do like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the post notification bell, so that way you never miss anything we post. The diverse world that they live in. The book had chosen to take a more traditional look at how the aristocracy of the time would have looked. The series went into a very different and very welcoming direction. They made sure to create a world that is diverse and inclusive. In the Netflix series, Queen Charlotte was added to the cast. She was never even part of the original series of books, but she was a real historical queen that lived in England during the time period. There also have been rumors that the historical Queen Charlotte was of African ancestry. We don't know for sure, but we do love how they used this rumor as a fact and created a world where she was able to embrace all parts of herself. According to the alternate history of the show, she then went on to give people of color a lot more important titles and created a diverse town. They did a great job in blending history and fantasy together so as to create an incredible world. Queen Charlotte is such an incredible character in the first place, and it would have been a true shame for her not to have been in it. Simon's stutter was a bit different. In both the book and show, Simon does stutter as a young boy. It's so bad that at first he's almost unable to talk, and the pressure that his father puts on him doesn't help the little boy to overcome it. The stress just makes it worse. Now, in the series, it is Lady Danbury who takes him in and becomes a mother figure to the child. With her help, he ends up overcoming the stutter, and it pretty much completely disappears when he's an adult. Some fans did notice once or twice in the show where he seems to be stuttering a little bit, but overall, it doesn't seem to impact him anymore. The books are a little bit different though. In the books, it was actually his nurse, Nurse Hopkins, who ended up helping him work on his speech when they were sent away by his father. She was the one who was taking care of him and helping him until she stood up to his father and got fired. She was a great character, and I do think it's a little bit of a loss to lose her. But in the book, he does actually still continue to struggle with stuttering even into adulthood. When he's in a situation where there are heightened emotions or stress, he does have to work hard to be able to stop himself from stuttering. It wasn't just something that he overcame and never had to look back. So that is a little bit of differentiation from the series in the books. Simon in the books did have a relationship with Lady Danbury as well. He says that she was kind to him as a child and they spent school holidays at her house. So it's not too much of a stretch to create this close-knit relationship between the two in the series. Daphne's a bit different as well. In both the book and the series on Netflix, Daphne takes her responsibilities as an elderly daughter very seriously. She knows that she needs to make a good match in order to ensure that her and her sisters will end up having a better chance later on down the road. And more than anything, she wants to be able to have children and a family who is as close as the Bridgerton family that she was born into. Her parents were a true match made in heaven, and she would love to have that, but knows that it's also very rare, so she's willing to settle for just liking somebody. But in the books, Daphne's already in her second year of marriage, and she hasn't even made a match yet, so she's a little bit worried. Most of the more eligible men see her as a friend instead of a desirable woman, and it's only when Simon starts to show interest in her that they flock to her side too. This is very different from the series, where Daphne is the belle of the ball right from the start, the diamond of the season. Daphne in the book is also way feistier than the series version, in a really good way. She's close to her siblings and especially eldest brothers. Anthony's different too. Anthony of the series was super overprotective and took his so-called duties way too far. He seemed to only care about getting his sister married off without caring about her happiness. In the books, he had already rejected a bunch of proposals to Daphne from men that he felt weren't good enough for her. He actually didn't understand why she needed to feel rushed to find somebody. It was only after she told him that it was something she really wanted that he came on board. He had even rejected Nigel Burbook a couple of times and never had any intention of allowing him to marry Daphne. But both of the versions see Anthony being protective of his family and thinking he knows best. He is the head of the household and takes it very seriously. Even when his mother points out that she's quite capable of making decisions herself, I hope that we get to know Anthony better and that they just show how much of a caring person he can be. The way that Daphne meets the Duke. This is a little bit different as well. In the series, Daphne bumps into Simon at a ball and they're later properly introduced. But in the books, Simon's trying to hide at the ball and he comes up in a scene where Nigel Burbook is proposing to Daphne and doesn't want to take no for an answer. Daphne hits him just before Simon comes out to help and he is out cold. In the end, Simon does help her move the unconscious Nigel to a spot that is less obvious. They have a moment before Simon realizes that Daphne is in fact the little sister, the friend that the Viscount Bridgerton. Little pieces of that scene were then used later in the series, so it wasn't completely left out, it just changed how they met slightly. Anthony knew about the ruse. In the books, Anthony was getting overprotective of his sister due to the fact that he knew Simon had vowed to never marry, so he wanted to get him away from Daphne. This resulted in Daphne and Simon explaining their plan to be able to get Daphne more suitors by having Simon show interest first. Anthony reluctantly agrees to this, with stipulations that it must never get out, that they're never allowed to be alone, and that they must never ensure that Daphne is never compromised. Also, he so delicately tells Simon, quote, "If I ever catch you kissing her bloody hand without a chaperone, I shall tear your head off." Later, he does catch them together, and the rest of the events, including the duel, stay pretty much the same in the book and in the series. That one moment between Daphne and Simon. When Daphne's figured out that Simon has tricked her and that he can in fact have kids, she makes sure that she is on top and he can't pull out. This got a lot of people talking about consent, and look, I know a lot of people have said that the time period was different, rules of consent weren't as well understood or clear back then, but still, it doesn't really make it any better. The show has done away with a lot of historical accuracy in order to make it more palpable for audiences of today, but having that moment was not okay. But in the book, it was even a little bit worse. In the book, Simon goes out drinking after he and Daphne fought when he found out about this deception. Then he comes home drunk and is asleep when she tries to take advantage of his condition so as to get pregnant without him protesting. So while both were bad, I do think that scene in the book was even worse. Simon being into boxing. It was never mentioned in the book that Simon liked to box, but it was a favorite pastime. So I guess he could have been a boxer, but I don't think anyone's complaining about having to watch Simon boxing in the series. It was definitely something to behold. Marina Thompson. In the books, we only hear about Marina Thompson when Eloise writes her widow, Philip Crane, to pay her respect after Marina had committed suicide, and that only happened in book 5, so none of Marina's story was included in the books. It's going to be interesting to learn her fate in later seasons. Because of the ending of season 1, Marina is now off to marry Sir Philip Crane, the same man who became Eloise's love interest in the book about her life. So, will they follow the same story and kill off Marina? I don't know, but we've still got a while to wait to catch up on all that. If they do follow the book a season as in season 1, then we'll probably only learn what happens in season 5. Lady Whistledown's identity. After season 1, we already know who the mystery writer is. In the book, it took all the way for book 4 to find out. There's always differences when books are adapted, but I do think both the show and the book are great in their own rights.